You were expecting a secret, weren't you? Some sort of way, some sort of plan, some sort of specific step-by-step plan that I could give you to become rich and fit. More specifically, to do it fast. Unfortunately, without knowing your specific case, I can't give you that. And no one can give you that. Much less in a cookie cutter version, not knowing where you are, what you want, what you know, the skills you have, all this stuff. Now, while I cannot give you that, I can give you the next best thing. As the title of the video says, a way for you to actually, over the course of a year, and then after that more of course, to change your life, to become a better person, a person that's more capable, that's stronger, more productive, more focused, more disciplined, and overall, a person that is better than what it is today. Now, before we get to that, why should you listen to me? The guy that took the same title of a more popular video and stole it pretty much just to try and get more views. Well, I'm glad you asked. My name is Gonçalo and I'm one of the founders of Paths of Meaning. That's likely where you came from Instagram, where we have 410,000 subscribers. And while I've been lucky to have transformed my life and be able to do this full time and really dedicate my life to this pursuit, it wasn't always like that. I remember when I started the page, I was working in a coffee shop beginning at, I believe, 6 in the morning. Monday, I was gonna say every day, but no, it was Monday through Saturday. Those are my work days. So I had one day of rest. And I remember feeling like absolutely hopeless and feeling so bad about the circumstances in my life. I was in a horrible shape. I was poor, broke. And in a lot of ways, I was hopeless. I didn't see a way out. However, what got me to change wasn't some magic pill or one day that some magic fairy came and gave me advice that I needed. It was a long process of trial and error, of building myself up, of improving. However, if I had to go back and look at my young self and talk to him again, this is what I would say. This is the advice that I would give him to really shortcut a lot of this trial and error, a lot of this struggle, and above all, cut through a lot of the confusion. Now, the first thing I would teach to my younger self would be leverage and understanding how leverage plays a role in our progress, not only internal and kind of more self-development, but actually in the results we get, whether that's money-wise, whether that's fitness-wise, relationship-wise, whatever pursuit within those three main categories, leverage is key. Now, what I mean by leverage is, now I was trying to come up with a definition for this, but I found one I'm going to read here. It puts it better than I could. To use something that you already have in order to achieve something new or better. Now, the problem is, this is what I would tell myself, and I'm telling you if you're in a similar situation, is that when you're beginning, or if you're just in a beginner stage of whatever pursuit it may be, you simply have no leverage. If you're broke and you're trying to get more money, you have no money to leverage. You have no money to use to get something better. If you're, let's say, very overweight, very out of shape, and you're trying to get in better shape, you have no, let's say, muscles already to help you, with a good form, with already some strength. It's like you're starting from zero. And because of that, what you have to understand is if you have no leverage, the impact of your actions will seem very insignificant. Because, for example, let's say I have $1. I have low money, low leverage, and I invest that and I get 20% return. Great return, but that would only be 20 cents. However, if that $1 was $1 million, then I would get 200K back. The percentage is the same, but the results are not the same at all. And that's why even if you begin doing right today and doing everything correctly, going to the gym 5 times per week, consistent, doing the exercise correctly, building the weight every session, progressive overloading, that's the word. If you start building your business, doing all things correctly, you will not see results for a few weeks, months. I'm not going to say years, but maybe a few months you're going to go without seeing any critical results. Again, because you have no leverage. And this is where sometimes it feels unfair, because if you can look at someone that, let's say, maybe they have a bit more money to start off, maybe their parents or someone lended them or gave them, maybe they have better genetics, and maybe their parents put them in some sort of sports growing up. These people will have more leverage when, let's say, they start going to the gym, or when they start building a business, or maybe even someone they know already has some experience and can guide them through it. They have more leverage. And it's easy to look at those people and be resentful, to just start hating everything, the system, and start to blame your lack of results on your lack of luck. But what no one tells you, and this is crucial, this is what I would tell myself as well, is that getting upset will do nothing, especially if you use that upsetness to just complain. However, if you get upset and if these things frustrate you, but then you go ahead and you use it to actually start and to recognize that you may have no leverage right now. And this is the critical point. But just because you have no leverage doesn't mean you can't get leverage. It just means you're going to have to go through a period of time where you're doing the right things, where you're being consistent, but you're seeing no results. It doesn't mean they're not happening, but it's the same when you're investing $1 and getting 20 cents back. It's barely noticeable, but if you do that long enough, you'll get to a point where it is noticeable, where it's not 20 cents anymore, but it's 200K. There's even this great example by James Clear in the book Atomic Habits, where he gives the example of an ice cube melting. And I'm going to do in Celsius because I don't know Fahrenheit, so Americans, I'm sorry, but so an ice cube would start to melt anything higher than 0 Celsius degrees. I think it's like 32 Fahrenheit, something like that. And the example is, let's say you're in a room that is -5 degrees right now, and only a bit after 0 does it start to melt. If your goal is to melt the ice cube, you can do progress from -5 to -4, -3, -2, -1, and you're making progress, but the ice cube is still the same. You're getting closer to the point where it melts and where you see results, but until you get there, you will see no results. It will seem like all the effort you're putting in is wasted. And the reality is, it will be wasted, because if you stop right before you get to that tipping point where it starts to melt, then it is wasted. And that is also something, sometimes people can be a bit overly positive when talking about, where it's like, oh, no effort is wasted, none of these things, you should always try. Yes, you should always try, but only if you plan on doing it pretty much forever, for the right things, to build your business or to achieve some sort of financial freedom, to get in better shape, to develop better relationships. These are not things that you get to a certain point and then you're like, yeah, it's done. Or even if they are, it's going to be much later in your life. It's not going to be when you're 35 that you're like, yeah, now I'm going to quit on, let's say, the work that gives me purpose, on working out, and on developing my, let's say, social skills and relationships. I'm just going to fuck around on a beach all day drinking mojitos. That's not going to work. That's not the way to a good life. And so understanding that, again, if you stop, if you give up, then it is wasted effort. But also to recognize that just because you're not seeing results doesn't mean progress is not happening. It is happening, but you have to give it time. Another crucial thing I would tell my younger self, and I would tell you to really help you, I'm going to say here the next year to make the best that you can, but it doesn't need to be next year. It can be just the next month, the next day, the next second, is to start looking at time as if it was money. Because so often when it's with money, we're so much more reluctant in spending it. Even if it's things that are good for us. Let's say a course that you want to buy to learn something, or to a new workout routine, a new, I don't know, some bands to work out at home, something. We're more reluctant in spending money. We're like, oh yeah, but then I don't know because I could spend on somewhere else. And we think about these things. But when it's about time, we're like, yeah, I'm just going to watch the YouTube video. Yeah, I'm just going to play video games. Yeah, I'm just going to fuck around. And we're throwing it away. Like if it was money, it's like we're just gambling it away on a game that we can't win ever. Because we forget, or we don't seem to realize that money we can always get more of. And sure, you have to trade time for it and to put effort in, but you can always get more of it, almost to an infinite degree. But time, you smack the microphone, but time you cannot get more any of. No matter what you do, sure, you can, get the most that you possibly could, exercise, eat healthy, all these things, but when those things are maximized, there is a limit. There is a certain point that no matter what you do, you're just gonna die. Everyone is. Everyone always have. Everyone throughout history has always died. You will die. And for the future, likely everyone will always die as well. And because of that, you need to look at your time as if it was money, but as if money that you have a certain limited amount of. If that was the case, you wouldn't just go around just throwing that money by, gambling, just buying some ultra ridiculous expensive foods. You wouldn't do that. but you do that with your time. So the crucial point, if you want to really make the next year, but not only year, like I said, week, month, time coming forward in your life, the best that it can be, and to completely transform yourself, like we said, you need to understand that it's all about leverage. And then you need to look at time as if it was money. Because at some point, hopefully, you'll have more money than you have time, and then things change. But until then, and even then, because if you look at the rich people, all they do is to get more time. You know, they spend the money to hire people, so they have to do less of a certain thing, so they're gaining more time in that way. But that is crucial. You have to start looking at time as investments. When you're putting time into something, you're investing that time. And as any good investor will tell you, you should invest on things that you know, that you care about, and that you understand. So the first thing I would suggest to you to actually make the biggest change possible, and this is what I did myself, in a lot of ways what I told myself back then, even if I didn't know too well, is to pick an avenue. Can be your fitness, can be more money-wise, can be relationship-wise. Within those things, whatever interests you the most, whatever you care more about, that is more purposeful to you, choose one of those. And then commit the next year of your life into investing most of your time into that, into improving yourself, into setting goal and trying to achieve it, and looking at what you did and analyzing it and seeing how you can get better. So the first step is you choose that, and then you write a goal, a year goal. Make it as specific as possible. So I don't want to, nothing like I want to be rich. I want to be jacked. No, none of that. Clear. How rich do you want to be? How jacked do you want to be? What specifically? What does that mean? You need to get this goal to a point where some random person off the street, you could show them their goal, show them where you are, and they could clearly tell if you've achieved it or not. That's the level of detail you want for this goal. And so today is the 15th of March. If you start today, which I recommend you would, you just put 15th of March of 2024. Then what you want to do is go month by month and set a smaller checkpoint on the way to that. Sometimes you're going to go a bit too easy. Sometimes you're going to go a bit too hard, but you just want something to keep you in check and to really look at how you're managing compared to the goal that you have. Now, once you have this goal, there's a lot of things that you can do that I'm not going to get into it, understanding the habits to get there, prioritizing, etc., developing more discipline, more focus, but that would be too much to go into one single video. What you want above all is to commit to attacking this goal with all that you have, in a healthy way, of course. You don't want to go crazy, but all the time to spare you have, all the focus, all the discipline, the effort you have to spare, you want to put it into this goal. Doesn't mean all your life has to go into this. Doesn't mean you can spend time with friends and your partner and just enjoying life at points, of course. But the best way to look at this is just look at the time that you're usually wasting and time that you're usually just fucking around doing nothing. How much better would you be if all that time went to this one pursuit that you're not setting? You would likely already have transformed your life. This is how you want to look at it. After you commit, what you want to do is look at the habits that you're going to do to get you to this goal. And you want to, every day, you want to track and see how consistent you're being. You want to look, did I do it? Did I not do it? First of all, just doing this will make you so much more aware of what you have to do, of your goal, it will set your mind, it will prioritize your mind by kind of, not coincidence, but kind of by just doing this. It will prioritize your mind into this pursuit because you're putting all this effort in, you're analyzing what you're doing, you're showing to yourself that it's important. And then in this process of, first of all, looking and analyzing what you did, and then crucially, writing to yourself or coming up with solutions on how to improve, let's say if you're not consistent, if you're not doing things well, in that process of looking at what you did and then learning or coming up with a solution on how to improve, you're going to progressively build more and more leverage. You're essentially compounding interest of progress, and you do this long enough, like we're talking about, and you'll get to a point that you look back and you realize, God damn, look how much different I am. You do this for 6 months, you already notice. You do this for a year, and it's crazy because it's hard to even understand how much further you'll be. I remember with the page now, for example, at this point we get around 1,000 new followers per day. But I remember for the first 4 or 5 months, we got a total of 700 followers. Just think about that. It took us 4 months to get 700 followers in the beginning, and now it's in a day. These things compound faster than our minds sometimes have the capability to understand. So keep that in mind. In the beginning, it's tough. It's always going to be tough. It is supposed to be tough. If it was easy, everyone would be rich, six-pack, great relationships, life solved. But they don't. Most people don't because it is hard. It is supposed to be hard. And when you're going through this, and that's what I want to finish on, when you're going through that hardship, remember, this is what's allowing you to build the leverage so that in the future, not only it's easier, but it's going to allow you to get so much more results when you fix things in the future. But for now, don't despair. If you're not seeing the results you'd like, but you're doing the right things, it just means you're building leverage. Enjoy this moment, appreciate it, even though it's tough, because in the future, you're going to look back and you're going to reminisce on it. You're going to look at it as a lot of times the best years. The good is only good if you have the bad to compare it to.